Listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm very happy to have Miss Roxanne Chaput. And yes, she has got that nice French name, and I've teased her a little bit about it before we started, but no, she's lovely. She's a great person. She is a life coach and an energy healer. So we're going to learn about her, and I think we were going to dive into the topic of the law of attraction, which is something I've tried to preach on and spread the word on, but I have a lot to learn. So enough from me. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm so happy to be back on the show. A little bit about me is I'm a mother of 4 beautiful children with an incredible life partner. Ever since I was a little girl, I just had a deep knowingness that I was meant to guide others, meant to heal others. I always felt like I was being called to elevate, and that kind of just came to fruition. Kind of as I went through life's trials and tribulations, I went through a lot of unhealthy relationships to a very unhealthy marriage. And then shortly after leaving my marriage, I experienced 4 near-death experiences, which kind of all awakened me to what my mission was here on this earth. And I had incredible dreams. I do dream interpretations and had incredible dreams that were guiding me to my ancestors, who were all really, I come from generations of shamans, so of energy healers, medicine men, medicine women. So it was something that was always kind of within me, and it was just something that really flourished in the last few years.
Now, the shamanism is something you're kind of born with, or you have to be kind of given that title. You don't just say, "Oh, one day I'm going to be a shaman," and you're a shaman. There's a bit of a ceremony to it, isn't there?
Right, absolutely. So you're either born to be a shaman, you're initiated into being a shaman, you're awakened, so you're being called by dream state, by vision to become a shaman. And then in order for you to be a shaman, it's not something you can go to school for or just say that you're a shaman. There's an initiation. Another shaman has to recognize that you are a shaman within your tribal community. And there's a whole ceremony that happens in initiations to affirm that you are in fact a shaman, a healer. And healers and shamans can all heal on different capacities. Some of them are really integrated with medicine healing. Some of them do energy healing, spiritual healing. It just depends on the shaman themselves.
Yeah, that was quite of an experience you had when you went down that journey, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so incredible. I had literally a dream for almost 4 months straight of this beautiful Indigenous woman. So I am of Indigenous background. I'm Native, so I am French and Native, which is called a Métis culture here in Canada. And for almost 4 months straight, I had this incredible dream of this beautiful Indigenous woman who was coming to me, and she was standing in front of a ravina. And there was these beautiful teepees beside her, and she had her arms extended to me. And she kept chanting me this melancholy, it was like a healing song. I felt such at peace with her. And the connection to her felt like she was like my maternal grandmother. It was like so much warmth, so much love. And she came to me for almost 4 months straight, and I couldn't understand the dream. And I do dream interpretations, and I didn't understand what she was trying to tell me. So I had went to one of the elders in my community. So in the Indigenous culture, we have elders, which we do in other cultures as well. But these are the ones that carry the wisdom. They're the ones who know the traditions and the healing, the properties, the land, everything. They know everything. And I went to this incredible shaman who was an elder, and I was telling him about my dreams. And I was chanting the song to him, and he was like, "Wow, that is such," and she's calling you to the land. She's calling you to come and heal. I'm like, "Coming to heal? Like, where am I going?" Tell me, where do I go? And he's like, "Yeah, she's calling you to the land to come and heal." And I sang him the song, and he was like, in awe, because he's like, that is an ancient traditional healing song that hasn't been sang in healing circles for over 100 years. He's like, my great-grandfather, my grandfather used to hymn that song to me as a little boy, but not in healing circle. And he's like, but it's almost like she made it a different rendition for you. It's not the exact notes, but it's very similar, very, very similar. So I was like, wow, like, what is she trying to tell me? And I had met with this incredible spiritual guide shortly after. And I was telling her of my dream, and they don't know each other. There was no connection between these two individuals. And she said, she's calling you to the land. She's calling you to come and heal. You're meant to be a shaman. You're meant to be a healer. And I was like, well, where do I go? Where am I going? What am I doing? How do I know? Where does this information get channeled? Like, I don't know. And the last night that I had the dream, I woke up in the morning and I told my partner, I said, listen, I'm being called to the land. I need to come, I need to go and heal. And he's like, what? You're going where? And I'm like, yeah, I need to. He's like, okay, like I'm very free spirited, very free flowing. So it wasn't really a surprise to him. But he's like, you're going in the forest by yourself with wolves and bears. Like, you're not bringing protection. You're going by yourself. Like, please bring something for my sanity, kind of thing. And I'm like, don't worry. Like, I know I'm safe. Like, I feel a shield around me. And I'm like, I'll bring something, you know, for your peace of mind. And on this journey, it was a 2.5 hour drive, and I was just crying the entire time. It was like a release of all the emotions that had been pent up for years, all the hurt, all the trauma. And it was like I was reconnecting to myself, like on this drive. And I was chanting this song over and over and over again. And I couldn't stop listening to the song. And it was just like, it just kept making me cry even more. And then I get to these beautiful healing grounds, and it's pouring rain outside, like it's torrential downpour. And I get to these healing grounds and I see this beautiful healing rock, and I go, and I knew right away, I'm like, this is where this is where I'm meant to heal. And I sit on this rock and I'm doing a smudging ceremony. So for those listeners that don't know what smudging is, it's an ancient traditional way of clearing your energy. We kind of just do a cleansing. It's like purifying ourselves. And what you do is you burn like sage, you can burn Palo Santo, you can burn cedar, tobacco. So I'm doing this smudging ceremony on this rock. And all of a sudden, like, I just feel like I'm reconnecting to my ancestry. I'm reconnecting to the earth, to the trees, to the air. Like, I was like reconnecting to all the elements except for fire. But I want to say except for fire. But now looking back, like, I was burning, I was smudging, there was a fire in front of me. So really all the elements were there. And all of a sudden, a deer, a little bunny rabbit, a chipmunk, like, it's coming right on the rock beside me. There's like hummingbirds flying from tree to tree, which hummingbirds don't usually fly when it's pouring rain like that.
Right.
And it was just like and I always known that I've had like a special connection with the animal kingdom. Like, animals would always listen to me and I wouldn't have to say anything. It was just like, my energy, and they always gravitate towards me. Even like vicious dogs, like all of a sudden in my presence, they would just become tame and they would become like docile, really, you know? And I never understood it, but I knew that I had some connection to animals. Like, I knew that, I don't know, somehow my energy spoke to them. So anyways, all the animals are beside me, and there's this little chipmunk like right beside me, and I had no food for him. So he was just like hanging out on the rock, and then he left, he scurried off. And this whole time it's pouring rain, I'm feeling all this reconnection to who I was and like to who I'm supposed to be. And on this rock, like, it's pouring rain, there's no enclosure over the rock. Like, there's trees around the rock, but no enclosure. Not one single drop of rain hit me for the almost 4 hours that I was there. Not one single drop of rain. When I went into the forest, when I sat on the rock, I wasn't soaking wet. And when I came back, my partner was like, wow, like, how are you not wet? I'm like, the rain didn't hit me. It didn't hit me at all. And he was like, wow, like, it's like, I don't even know. But anyway, in that moment when I was there, I knew what I was meant to do. And I was never the same after that day. I had healed a part of me that was never able to fully heal. It was like something that, we found coping mechanisms. We went to counseling, we read things on Google. We tried to manage, we tried to do our self and our soul mastery journey, but it was never something that truly affected healing. And when I went on this journey, it really affected such an incredible healing that I never felt the same. It was like an inner peace that overcame within my entire body, within my entire being. And it never wavered from that point. I knew exactly who I was. I knew exactly what I was meant to do. And there was no questioning that. There was no doubt in any regard. So I said to myself, okay, so I am a healer. That's what I healed myself, but let's put my theory to the test. Let's put my skill to the test. Can I do this for others? And so I took some guinea pigs, asking family and friends to come on a journey with me. And every single person that I went on this healing journey with effectively healed, and their life was never the same after that.
Wow, that's incredible. It's something supernatural. But I'm curious about something, and I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm asking. This is a serious question. When it comes to smudging, we use it when we do our paranormal investigations. I was speaking with a lady she's a native, and she said that the way that we've been using sage is kind of disrespectful
Yep.
to way the ancestors would use them.
Yep.
And that it's really something that's supposed to be just done by a native, and not by other folks.
Yeah, it's really, and this is the misconception about smudging. And it's not just native, it's just those that are indigenous to their culture. Like say, shamans in Peru, they use different smudging elements in order
Right.
to purify, and that's okay. But the thing is with smudging is that people don't understand what it is, and it's energy, right? You're removing negative and you're clearing energy in order to accept positive energy. And if you don't do that properly, you are going to end up with a lot of negative energy around you. I know so many people that smudge and they're like, I feel like so many things went wrong in my life and I just feel so drained all the time. It's because you allowed negative energy to attach to your energy. So it's very draining. So if you don't know what you're doing, there are actual steps on what you need to do in order to smudge. And I would never recommend someone who doesn't know how to smudge or just Google smudging. That is not how you smudge, unfortunately. There's a whole process and it's a whole ceremony of smudging. And it's important to detoxify and cleanse every aspect of your being before you even cleanse the energy in the room, if that makes sense. So a lot of people don't understand that. They don't take the time. It's not something that has to be like, a lot of people want to clear energy in their home. This is not the way to do it unless you have someone that knows exactly what they're doing in regards to smudging, because you're going to end up doing the reverse effect, bringing negative energy instead of removing the negative energy, which can be very burdening.
Yeah, you can actually trap it in the area you thought you were trying to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been a curiosity of mine. How do you know what you're doing? But something that popped into my head was I had a Catholic person tell me how evil I was for doing all that stuff, and looking for ghosts and messing with spirits and things like that, and y'all do that thing with the sage and everything. What do you think that your priest does before he starts his sermons on Sunday? They go up and down. Excuse me, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, I think that, in respect for all religions, is that this is an ancient indigenous, practice. And if you think about shamanism has been around for over 100,000 years. So that's just including the elders. So this practice has been around for a very, very, very long time. And it's very traditional. It's not just anyone just starts smudging, but it's really important working in the energy field that when I work with my clients, I teach them how to properly smudge so that they don't have that negative energy dissipate on them, because through Zoom, I'm not able to physically go there and actually smudge their space. But there's ways to teach, and it's just not something you do lightly. It's not something that you just do because you think it's cool and you like the smell and it's fun, right? A lot of the TikTok things that I see are on social media. I'm like, oh no, please don't do that. Please don't. Please don't do that.
Got too many people that think they know what they're doing just because they saw it on TV or something, and that's not the way to do it. But I could go down a lot of rabbit holes here, but I wanted to get focused on the main thing, which was the law of attraction. And I'm assuming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it isn't part of shamanism teaching the law of attraction. Is it called the same thing, or is it called something else?
It really is the same thing if we think about energy, right? If we think about who we are as beings, divine creatures, it is all about universal laws and universal and guiding principles. So when we think about the universal laws and we think about the law of attraction, and there's such a misconception of the movies that have been released and the books that have been released, which are great. They're great little pieces of they're little pieces of the puzzle, I should say, but they don't fully explain how to actually utilize the laws of attraction. It's not just the law of attraction. There's 11 other laws that go in conjunction that need to be in collaboration with the law of attraction in order for it to be effective. And this doesn't mean that we just do affirmations. This doesn't just mean that we envision something. There's so many pieces, intricate pieces that need to come together like a puzzle in order for the big picture to kind of prevail itself. So when we think about the law of attraction, we have the law of divine oneness, which means that we are all one, we are all unity, we are all energy. And as we have our individuality and we have our own special and innate abilities and gifts, as I like to call them, we are still the power of one. When something happens to one of us, even though we may be desensitized at this moment, it still affects us. And there's a reason why that affects us, is because we are all made of love and light. So when we think of this, and it doesn't mean that we don't have shadows, doesn't mean that we don't have like a little darker part of ourselves. Everybody does. We're made of light and dark matter, right? We're made of light and dark energy. And that is the yin and the yang, the feminine energy. We have masculine energy. Every human being, right? Every being within us. So when we think of the law of divine oneness, it's just to really understand that we are all one. So what we do to others impacts us. So it's important that we're kind and we're compassionate and we're accepting towards others, even if they have different views, even if they have different perspectives, if they have different backgrounds or different races, right? It's just important to love all. So that is the law of divine oneness. So when we have this, do you want to ask a question?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
So then, that's just one, that is the main guiding principle of the laws, right? So the universal laws is to understand that we are all one. We are all divine creatures. And it doesn't matter. This is not religious. This is not, you know what I mean? Like, this has nothing to do with religion. This is just the energies. And this is just how the universal laws work. And I mean, it's factual. So at a microscopic level, the law of vibration, right? Whatever vibration that we emanate is what we attract. So if I am vibrating at a low frequency, and let's just say, I'll give an example for love. If I'm single and I'm looking to attract the right person in my life, and my vibration is all the way down here, and I expect to attain someone who's up here, it's impossible. The vibration and the frequencies will never meet. So it's important that we think of the law of vibration if we're trying to attract something specific in our life, like the law of attraction, right? Like the overarching of what we think the law of attraction is that we make sure that our vibrations are consistently what we want to be for what we want to attain in our life. Oh, I want to be a CEO and I want to make 7 figures and I want to be successful. Well, is your vibration there? Right? Is your vibration there, or is your vibration at $100,000? So that's when we start thinking about like the universal laws and how it has to kind of all come together in order for the law of attraction to truly be effective.
Now, one thing, and forgive me, I'm trying to remember the exact word. I think it's called duality. I'm not
Polarity?
sure.
Yeah.
But when they talk about there's like a central consciousness in the universe,
Yes.
that all ideas and everything kind of goes back to, and how we're made of atoms and molecules, all these things, and there is a certain vibration, and that's why we share I guess this totality between us, is because we all have a certain vibration. We all are connected in that way. We're all trying to get to that central consciousness to get the enlightenment that we need to get to a higher vibration. I'm hoping I explained that right.
Yes, you did. And that's exactly it, right? And if we think of unity and we think of just our energy, we are made of energy. There is no arguing that. It's scientific. It's in all religious scriptures. We are made of energy, and energy never dies. But we know instinctually our energy, if we think of chemistry, I like to call it energy, but instinctually our energetic receptors know if we instinctually like someone, if we instinctually have that warm energy field with someone, or that we know that they're a good person just by their energy. So when we think of the energy that we disperse into the world, if we think that, we're in a bad mood, or we're hiding things, and that energy is not, glowing around us and emanating through us and emanating around us, we're wrongly mistaken, because it is, because we are made of energy. So we can try and hide things as much as we want. And if our vibration isn't there, energetically, we'll never attain the things that we truly desire, because our vibration isn't matching what we're requesting from the universe.
And if I'm correct here, whenever you are asking for something, it's not so much you're asking, you're telling yourself that you already have this, whatever you're looking for, whether it be love or that new car or to have some bills paid. And when you sit here and you say, well, I need $100 to pay my water bill, or I don't, please give it to me, I don't have it. Well, that's just kind of another way of saying, well, you don't have it, and that
You're
means
creating that resistance.
you're creating a resistance instead of an attraction.
Yeah, and that's the most number one error I see so many people doing. Like I said, it's just because there's such a misconception in social media, the movies, like anything that you kind of see out there, is that you're just supposed to envision something and it's going to come to you. You're going to say something, it's going to come to you. It's all about how we formulate our words. Our words carry frequency, our words carry vibration. Even if it's just a thought, our thought creates vibration. So when we think, I want this, or I'd like this, or, I'd like love, or I'd like to be a millionaire. Well, then you're questioning, well, how am I going to be a millionaire? Do I deserve great love? Am I worthy of great love? Then you have all these self-doubt, negative belief systems that are coming into effect, and they're affecting your vibration. And then you end up getting a shitty relationship, or you end up not advancing in your business. Well, you just put out the frequency of that, right? We just put out that vibration. So it's important when we're using, the law of attraction, is that in the words of correspondence, is that we are saying, I choose, right? I choose, and I am this. There is no doubt in my mind that I am going to attain this, that I choose this life. So I choose to have, $100,000. Is it going to come tomorrow? Is it going to come in a month? No, but I'm choosing it's coming, right? I don't need to know why. I don't need to know how it's coming. I just know for a fact it's coming. And that has worked for me on so many occasions where I was like, you know what? I choose to have this amount of money, and bang, 6 months later, or a year later, sometimes it was 3 years later, it just came to me. And I was like, wow, okay, I understand the power of manifestation and how to attract it, right? So it's just about the words that we choose. And if we're making, coming to love, a lot of people write a list of what they don't want, right? Or what they'd like, or I'd like this. No, I choose this in my partner. But in the same breath, are you this person that you're trying to attract? Because if not, then you have to work on the law of correspondence. You need to heal these aspects of yourself in order to be that person that you're really wanting to attract, in order for you to elevate your vibration, if that makes sense.
It's kind of like when they tell you dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have.
Yeah, like be the person you choose to be, and don't be anything else than that. Don't allow negative self-talk. And this is where healing and all these things come into effect, right? Because we have so many things within our subconscious levels, and so many imprints and disruptions happening within our energy, that we're not able to really clear those things out on our own. We've tried. A lot of people have tried. They tried counseling, but how many people do you know from counseling really have truly effectively healed and changed their life, right? I can't name any on my hand. And I've worked in healthcare for over 13 years with psychologists, neuropsychologists, master social workers. So when you think of this aspect, yes, we have coping mechanisms, we have tools, we have strategies, but has it affected healing, right? So it's important in the law of correspondence is that you heal these aspects of what you're asking from the universe, if that makes sense, Kyle.
So I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why when we say our prayers and we're asking for something, we're actually deflecting from the things that we're wanting to happen, or we're wanting to come into our life. So I guess maybe we should pay more attention when we say, oh God, please help me pay that $100 water bill.
I choose to have $100 in my bank account tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know how it's going to happen, but make it happen.
Just say, hey, God, thank you for putting that $100 in my bank account tomorrow. Yeah, or something along that line.
Like I said, it's not about timing. I think when we talk about universal laws, but it's just how many people that, you know, were striving for something and really knew that maybe couldn't afford something, like you know, a bill was coming up, they were stressed out about it, all of a sudden money just fell into their lap, or money just kind of came, you know, like all of a sudden they got a check from somewhere they really weren't expecting a check from. They're like, holy shit, like, wow, okay, awesome. Like, this worked out.
You know, it's funny that I can recall this time that I had got laid off, and I had drawn from my retirement so we could live, you know, and anyway, the money was running out, and I had no idea where in the world the money was going to come from. You know, my little brother had passed away, and I remember talking to him and say, you know, I told him, you know what, I know I don't have it now, but somehow I feel like there's going to be money to help us get through. I just know it. I just know it. I got home that day and got the mail, and lo and behold, there was a check, and saying this was the remainder of my balance that was left in my account that I didn't even know I had. Now,
Wow.
coincidence?
Probably.
I don't know.
Well, you know, I believe in coincidences and synchronicities, and I think this is just the universe's way of letting us know that there is, you know, greater magic at hand. I like to call magic, and greater forces at hand, and to stop questioning and just allowing what's meant to be to be. It doesn't mean to go and be reckless, doesn't mean that we should go and spend all of our money and expect $1 million tomorrow. Like, we also have to use like our intelligence and understanding, and as best as we can. But as we make mistakes, we are intended to make mistakes. That coincidences and synchronicities happen for a reason. It's you know, like, I'm really not shocked by that, because I truly believe that things always have a way of working themselves out in that sense.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary about Jim Carrey,
Yes.
when he says that he wrote himself a check
Yeah.
for however millions of dollars, and he says,
Yeah.
I'm giving this to my future self, and I'm going to have it in 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's when he got the deal for The Mask and all those other movies, and
Yeah.
boom, there it was.
And then, you know, we think about that, but he was also, and this comes to one of the other laws, is the law of inspired action, right? There was action behind what he was doing. He was putting himself in positions in order to be able to attain that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that comes with universal laws. You can't just sit on the couch and be like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I mean, maybe you'll win the lottery, perhaps, but it's about doing the action in order to attain that, in order to have that. And it doesn't mean that you have to burn yourself out and work like a dog in order for it to happen, but you also have to put the actions in place in order for that to happen. Just like in love, you have to put the actions forward. You have to maybe put yourself out there, go on a dating app, and, you know, like, do those things, or, you know, heal yourself. Those are all like the law of action, right? It's about
Right.
doing what we're asking to be able to receive.
Which brings me to another point that I had, that I've got a long way to go. I'm still learning. I'm going to get there, but I have people come into my life like you that help me to take those next steps. And as good intentions that I have, I've often talked about how negative the world seems to be, and that we're trying to put positivity in it. And I realized, you know what, it's the way I've been going about it and the way I've been saying it. Yes, I'm trying to put some action to it, bring in people like you to come on and inspire people, and to help motivate them and bring them a positive change to their life. But I've focused so much on how much negativity is in the world, and not how there is positivity out there. I mean, you're a living proof of that positivity. There's so many people out there that it's the reason why I bring them on the show, is because they're the epitome of that drive, that like I said, positivity, and how you don't give up. So help me to change.
And, you know, I think this brings us in a beautiful segue into the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. So when we think of this, and it's knowingly that we seek to uplift negative energy around us, right? And maintaining positive thoughts and action. And as you know, the world seems very chaotic right now. There's a lot of sadness that is happening throughout the world, a lot of divisiveness that is happening throughout the world. However, we all have a choice. We have a choice to either play into the narrative narrative of negative energy that will suffocate us, right? That it feels suffocating, it feels depressing, it feels like we're hopeless. A lot of us feel like very depressed about it, especially in the light working community. Like it's very disheartening to see where the world is going because we don't want hatred. We want love, light, and
Yes.
unity. So I think that it's important that we don't contribute to that narrative and that we elevate ourselves and we show up in a different way and we show up bringing light and love and not kind of immersing ourselves into the negative narrative that is happening and allowing the light to prevail over the world and the love to prevail over the world opposed to the latter.
I could say it's one of the things that I am doing right, because as much as I see on the news and social media, YouTube videos, and how you've got people saying these people are going to hate you no matter what you do, and other people are saying, yeah, they hate you, so you might as well hate them back. And my thought is, irregardless of what they're saying, I refuse to fall into that. I'm going to love my neighbor, even if I don't like my neighbor, I'm going to love my neighbor.
Yeah. And for those that really understand that, is that most people who hate others is because they don't understand them and they don't have knowingness of others. And it's not just that, right? It's ego, right? It's that their belief system is right over everyone else's belief system, that the way that they show up for the world is the right way, and that everybody else is doing something wrong if we're not playing into that narrative. But this is the ego state. And the ego serves us as human beings, but it doesn't serve us as divine creatures and divine beings. And we think about the ego, when someone hates someone else for a reason, it's something within them that they dislike and they haven't contended with. This is part of their shadow that is at a subconscious level that they haven't come to terms with and they haven't contended with. So when we think of how other people hate others, sometimes is that they wish they could be open and honest and actually stand for what they truly believe in, instead of the fictition or the conditioning that they have this belief system, which really isn't their belief system to have, be really their belief system to be owned. It's something that was brought upon them, and that they have no reason now to say that they're right within it, because they've made their life surrounding this belief system. And to be able to look at something of a different perspective, that means change. And that's scary for a lot of people. So when someone is showing you hate, I show them even more compassion and even more love and more light, because I know it's something within them and it has nothing to do with me.
Well, I refuse to think that everybody that's not like me hates me. And I was telling you before we got started, I struck up a conversation with someone who wasn't like me at the grocery store. Found out we both loved to bake. We both love growing our own vegetables and making our own spices and all these different things. Then we just both left with a smile on our face, thinking, wow, it was so great talking to this person. It just goes to show there are a lot of people out there that do have the same kind of mindset as we do. And of course, you're going to run across those who don't.
Yeah, and that's okay. And I think that when we understand unity and we understand the first law of divine oneness, is that understanding that we all have different perspectives, all different faith systems, all belief systems, and that's okay. We are not meant to be here to judge others and what they believe in. We are meant to affect change, and we are meant to raise humanity, right? And to allow them to elevate and to not be stuck on all these petty little things that are really insignificant in the grand scheme of things. These are all superficial things. These are all distractions that we are involving ourselves with, when we really can be focusing on doing our own soul's work. And when we do our own soul's work, we're not busy trying to master others, and we're not busy trying to manipulate others, and we're not busy trying to be something that we are not, right? So when we think of it from this aspect, and then this kind of brings us into the law of cause and effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the law of karma, you've heard that your whole life, karma, right? Karma, what you put out is what you get. Well, how we treat others is how we will be treated. So sometimes, you were shitty to someone one day, and all of a sudden 2-3 days later, everyone seems to be really shitty to you or really miserable with you. Yeah. Well, you just got your law of cause and effect, and that's the law of karma. So how we show up in the world, and this is why it's so important for me, I always show up with love and light, even though I may not agree with some things or someone may have hurt me, but it's not up for them to own my emotions, and it's up for me to control my emotions. It's up for me to not let others control my emotions. I should have that power, no one else.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing when people are, like that, are judgeful against you and they criticize everything you do. But here's another aspect that I need a lot of work on. I'm doing a lot better, is that I'm really hard on myself. It
A lot
seems
about
like
that.
I just can't, I can't, I can't give myself credit for the good things that I do. And then when somebody gives me a compliment, I try to play it off like,
You don't want to believe it.
I don't want to believe it. Exactly. How do you get past that?
Well, I will tell you right now, and you're meeting with an energy healer. So there's definitely some disruptions within your energy fields, and I think that you know that. But I think that a lot of that comes from trauma. And when I speak of trauma, I don't mean that it has to be something that is a traumatic event. It could be little words that are said throughout our lifetime that allow us to believe something of ourselves that really is not true, or something that we labeled ourselves because we felt inadequate or not worthy of something. So when we're coming from this, and it may not be apparent because it's within our subconscious. And as you know, subconsciously, we don't know what's within our subconscious unless we do like neuro-linguistic programming, we do trance, we do anything of that nature. So when we're acting a certain way or we're having a negative self-talk towards ourselves, at the end of the day, we're telling ourselves that we're not worthy and that we don't deserve goodness, right? Because if we did, we would never try to abuse ourselves. So if you think of it in this way, if your partner said half the things that you think of yourself in your head, would that be considered abuse?
I gotcha. Yeah.
Right. So there's something underlying there that you don't feel that you deserve true happiness and that you're withholding. Right. And when we think about our energy and we think about our imprints, we think about the disruptions that are happening. If we think that our chest feels heavy, that our, like the crown of our chakra feels heavy, and we're always kind of eyes down and not looking forward, and anything within our chakra system, if any of these things are affected, it really creates, not such great thinking of how we feel about ourselves. And sometimes, when we're able to receive a compliment and be like, thank you, yes, like I am handsome, like, yeah, I am intelligent, yeah, I'm bringing great things into the world, that means that you love yourself unconditionally at that point. And that's not about being conceited. That's not about being, arrogant or cocky or anything of that nature. That's just knowing who you are. And when you don't know who you are, it's very, very hard to be standing behind yourself because you don't know what you're standing behind.
And here's my catch 22 on that. I'm trying not to be negative here, but I know there's other people out there that feel the same way I do. And we want to get past this, is that, you've always heard when somebody is being conceited or whatever, or not necessarily even have to be conceited, but they kind of brag on themselves. And you hear people say, God, he's so stuck on himself and that kind of thing. So in the back of my mind, when I start to say something positive about myself, then there's something negative that comes right back in of, oh my gosh, everybody is going to think that I'm so egotistical. How do you convince yourself between that you're being positive and you're not being over the top conceited?
You can be confident within your abilities and within who you are, your self-esteem, having great self-esteem, with humility and with being humble. You don't, you know what I mean? There's a way that you present yourself. And there's a way that if we're being, braggers and we're like, oh, like I have this and I have that, like obviously nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to know that because it hurts them. It hurts them that they may not be at the same level as you are. And it's not about that. It's not about comparison. It's not about competition. It's about you feeling okay with who you are at the end of the day, and that you feel incredible inside. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anyone else's views are on you. It matters what Kyle thinks of Kyle, right? And what Kyle feels of Kyle. If Kyle feels like he's a good person, then he's a good person. You don't need to shout that on the rooftops. That will present itself in the way that you show up for your podcast, you show up for your family, you show up for your partner, you show up for your soul's mission, your work. how you show up on social media. All these things speak to your character and of who you are. And it's not for somebody else to validate that. It's up for us to validate that. And when we talk about unconditional love, it's about having that deep knowingness within you that you are an incredible force and that you're an incredible being. And we all are. And there's such a misconception that most people, because they have dark thoughts or they have dark feelings, or they may have depression, they may have anxiety, or they may have like dark thoughts of hurting people sometimes, like, like things go through the human mind like that. That's just natural. But there's a part of our shadow that we don't present to the world. And when I talk about shadows, that we suppress things of ourselves that we don't allow the world to see because we don't think it's acceptable. And we've been told that it hasn't been acceptable. And that we maybe told ourselves that it wasn't acceptable to show this to the world, but that's bullshit. We are able to show ourselves to the world in all capacity and shadow, and light, and dark and light. We are made of dark and light. There's no one without the other. That is energetic balance.
Now, others that are like me, they find a contradiction in some of that, where you say, I don't care what other people think. Well, yes, a part of me doesn't care what people think. When I wanted to move and wanted to come up here and live where there was beauty, I was told, oh no, you can't do that because it's too expensive, or whatever excuse, one after another. You can't do that. Well, I didn't care what they thought. I was going to do it anyway, and I'm here and I did it, and I'm happy that I did.
Yeah.
Or you can't start a podcast. Okay, look what I've done,
Yeah.
But I also, let's say, I'll take for instance, I bake.
Yep. I love
And-
that. I want some brownies in the mail.
You got it.
My husband will love you.
One of the things that I love to do is to bake cookies. And it all started when my wife had to start going back into the office. I decided that, I'm going to bake some cookies, just take them up there. So, it's kind of to break the ice with these folks, because she hadn't got to see them in person yet.
Yeah.
So she did. And the people were just raving over them, how they liked them and everything, and wanted to know if I was going to do that again.
Aww.
So it's kind of been every week I make a batch of cookies and she takes them. And I even have had requests, hey, make me white chocolate and macadamia nuts, or, last night I made cookies with the Heath bar bits in it. And I know I'm not supposed to eat them, but I had to try at least one.
You're allowed one. You're allowed 1 or 2 or 5 or 20 or lots.
And I mean, these people rave over. I had somebody actually sent me a video message saying how they loved them and I should be making money off of them and that kind of stuff. And part of me is like, yeah, I know I can bake, but then I need that validation, where to the point I'm asking my wife almost every 15, 20 minutes, you sure they like my cookies? You sure they like my cookies? I need to be told that I'm doing a good job. I guess because of all the negativity that was thrown at me as a kid of, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you're not smart enough to do this, and whatever it was, it had to do with.
That's still lingering. And I think that, I'm not going to have a session with you on your podcast, but I think that, that's still lingering. And I can see that already in your energy field, that a lot of your crown chakra is affected with that, and your heart chakra. So there's a lot sitting there. So when you think of that and you think about what you've been told, it's really hard for you to feel validated because you don't validate yourself. And then you go back to those words that you were told as a child. And when we think of validation and we think about the love languages, right? We think about the 5 love languages, and words of affirmation is something that you need, but that's when it's geared to a relationship. But you almost need that from everyone in order to proceed and know that you're good enough to do it. But where you need to get to is that without a doubt that you are good enough, and stop questioning that you're good enough, because you are good enough. Like you're delivering it, you're hearing it everywhere. you don't need that affirmation anymore. You don't need that reassurance. Only you need to reaffirm yourself. If they taste good to you, they taste good to everyone else, probably. Like only, but having a partner, I understand that. I ask my husband everything. And I think that that's a relationship, and needing that affirmation in a relationship is a little bit different. But just know that, you're baking some delicious cookies, and it's okay to accept that and to honor that
I've,
and to be
I've,
proud of that.
I've actually learned how to tweak some of the recipes. So even though they were good the way they were, the little extra that I've done to them,
Yeah.
I can't tell you I'd have to kill you, but
I don't want to die yet. I already went there, been there, done that. I don't want to do it again.
I don't know. These cookies just have this buttery taste to it. It's hard to explain. You just have to taste them.
Yeah.
So I will pat myself on the back for that one.
Right? And it's about being okay to pat yourself on the back. Why are we able to celebrate our losses and not celebrate our wins, right? Why do we have to get so hard on ourselves when we lose, or we feel like we made a mistake in life, or something has happened that wasn't so positive in our life? Why can't we celebrate the great stuff and honor that and look at it as such like a win, right? Like a successful win. Like, wow, that was a win. That's an incredible win. That made me feel freaking great. Let me be on this high all day. Because when am I going to get this high next, right? It's a high, like that you feel so great about yourself and that you accomplished something really cool. And like, even though it's baking cookies, freaking cookies are amazing. Like, if you can learn to master that, like be proud,
Yeah, it does feel good when somebody says, you got to stop making those things. You're going to make me fat.
Well, I mean, I'm going to take some cookies.
Is there any specific law that talks about how when people do throw insults and things at you, that you turn that around and use it as a strength?
Yeah, I think that we can use that as kind of the law of compensation. So when we think of the law of compensation, really, it's about, where am I being called to serve others? And am I showing up the way that I want to be serving the world, right? Like, am I showing up as a good person? When you go out into the world and you do something good, and not because you're going to be recognized for it, but you just do something, like from the good of your heart, like how great do you freaking feel? Like, you just feel freaking amazing, even though nobody knows it was you. It could be anonymous, doesn't matter. You feel so amazing. And when you do something wrong to someone, or, like good examples of like, rage, like within traffic time, like traffic hour, like so many people are raging drivers. Like, do you feel good when you're like spewing that hate and like being rude or cutting off someone? Like, nobody feels good doing that, right? Like, no one feels good about that. So when we think of the law of compensation, is how we show up for the world and how we're showing up for others. And then as we're changing our vibration, the vibration of those around us changes, right? And we're going to surround ourselves with people that are on a higher vibration, that really want to see us win, and that love us unconditionally, and that just believe in us. So I think that is just important when we think of the law of compensation, and about being kind to others. And that what we say, our words carry weight, even though, because a lot of people don't have that inner peace yet, don't have that unconditional love. And sometimes one word that was said to them in their lifetime, they've carried for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, right? Our words have impact, our words have vibration, and they can hurt others. So it's just very, being mindful that we're trying to uplift others and not trying to make them feel worse than they already are.
Anyone out there that's watching this or listening to this, if you are starting a podcast or whatever it is that you might be doing and you get insults, don't take that as a discouragement to quit. Do like I did. I had someone actually get on there, and he didn't call me a very nice name, let's put it that way. And when people do stuff like that, it's usually because they are jealous. They're not doing something in life that they want to do, and they can't stand the fact that someone else is starting to show success. So when you are being insulted like that, it means you're doing something right.
Doing something really right.
When I was a preacher, and we would go out and we would start witnessing to people, and we'd start getting people to come to church, or You might even witness somebody getting saved right in front of you. Whatever it is, when you're doing something good, that's when the devil decides he's going to attack you. When you're doing something good and other people are attacking you, that means you are doing something good. Think of it that way. Don't get discouraged. Please don't. I see too many folks either give up or they retreat into a shell. Some people go into self-harm. Please don't do that. I guarantee you it's not because of you. It's because of them.
You know what, Kyle, that's such a beautiful message. And this really transcends us down into the law of relativity. And when we think about the laws of relativity, it's about comparing ourselves and not to be comparing ourselves to other people's journeys. And this is where a lot of jealousy comes from, right? And as you know, most people that are very successful, how many people hate them? How many people hate on them or have so many reasons to discriminate, judge them, send them nasty messages just because they have like a celebrity status or that they've been successful within business. But this is all a reflection of them. And if you understand that, then it shouldn't penetrate your shield and it shouldn't penetrate your power. And as soon as we release that power and we give our power to someone else, we now just became powerless. So it's up to us to sustain our power and to keep control of our power. Yeah, it hurts sometimes. You hear a nasty comment or, yeah, we're human beings. We have an ego, right? It's going to hurt the ego, but we have to go beyond that. And we have to understand that this hurt is not coming to hurt us. It's something that is within them that they can't contend with, they can't heal, and they can't deal with. So they need to be irrational in the way that they reach out. So it's just about honoring that and knowing that what you're doing, if it's good in the world, it needs to be done and it is meant to be done. And you're always going to have naysayers, but allow that to be a driving force in order to push you forward even further and allow it just to show them different that you are going to prevail and you are going to drive it through regardless of what anybody says or thinks.
It takes me to this lesson that I wished I had finished it already, but I started talking about the hidden messages in The Wizard of Oz and the spiritual journey that she was taking. And there was a point where Dorothy and the Scarecrow, they're going along this path and there's apple trees. When they come upon the apple trees and they go to pick it or whatever, the apple trees get mad and they, start yelling at them and they're throwing the apples at them. Well, the trees aren't realizing you've kind of done the job for them, number one. But number two, everything you've been hurling at them, they could pick up and they could nourish on. So when someone's throwing insults at you, you take it almost like a badge of honor in a way. It's like, you know what? I am doing good. Look, they're throwing these apples at me, but I'm just going to take a bite and I'm going to keep going. Please don't get discouraged.
Right. And when we think about the law of polarity, right, it's important that we have good, evil, light, dark, like we have the yin and the yang. So there's always going to be a balance within energy. And I hate calling it a balance, but a flow of energy that happens throughout the world without human beings. And sometimes the darker part of them comes out when they are sending these messages. But again, that's something to do with them and it has nothing to do with us. And that's the law of polarity. There's always going to be polar opposites. There's always going to be an opposite, a positive and a negative.
And, there's also the aspect of fight or flight.
Yeah.
And you have to know when it's time to stand your ground and fight and when it's time to walk away.
Yeah.
I sound like a Kenny Rogers song, but but seriously, is the fight really worth it? Or is it better just to walk away? My wife and I have talked about that when it comes to the kids. There's some things that you have to put your foot down and say, you know what, you're not going to do this. This is going to be the consequences. And then sometimes you just kind of have to walk away and
choose the mountain that you're willing to die on, right?
That's right.
You got to choose your battles. You got to choose what you're willing to die for. And not, more metaphorically, but essentially that's what it is, right? What are you willing to stand up for? What do you truly believe in? And sometimes we just have to let things flow, and sometimes, and just let it go. And sometimes we actually have to fight for something.
Yeah. If you have one lead pipe and two of you are fighting, and you toss that pipe at them and they're able to get it and hit you with it. What you've
lost
kind
the
of
fight.
you've lost the fight. So
So don't bother, walk away. Nobody can get hit by that.
and so is there anything we left out?
There really is like pretty much like the law of rhythm, but that really coincide with like the law of vibration and just understanding that we also need to give ourselves time to rest. We can't just be go, 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 go. Like it's important that our energy isn't being burnt out and that we are pretty much like always at a really good, healthy kind of momentum with our energy. So that's the law of rhythm. So, and then the law of gender, which is make sure that as human beings, and not a lot of people understand this, is that even males and even divine females, we have masculine and feminine energy within us. And it's important to be flowing between both of these energies, because if one of these energies isn't flowing within us, then it causes a massive disruption within our energy, which causes our vibration and so forth. It's just like a trickle effect. So it's important that we are allowing the feminine energy, like the baking and the free flowing and the freedom, and then having like the schedule, the routine, the protection of the masculine energy. It's just important to go between both energies.
Yeah, there's a part of us that is the loving part, and then there's the part of us or the, stand up and fight and protect you and yours.
And yeah,
but
yeah.
This was enlightening, to say the least. There were some things that I didn't think about before that you really helped me with, and I hope we help people out there. If there's anyone out there that you do have those doubts or you need help, please reach out to us. My email is in the description. If I can't help you, we can find somebody who can help you. And Roxanne, you have a website?
Oh, yes. Anyone can find me on my website at www.roxannechaput.com. And all my social media handles are under that name as well. And I have a bunch of free content and so many things that can help anyone who's struggling and, needs to find their way or just needs to love themselves more.
There's plenty of help out there. You just got to be willing to accept it. And just, you can get on the computer, you can Google it. Like I said, you can reach out to one of us. Just please stay focused, stay positive, be good to yourself as well as be good to others. Sometimes it's always been easier for me to be kinder to other people than I was to myself. And you have to have a balance. Everything is a balance. So, Roxanne, thank you again for coming back. We have to do this again sometime soon.
If you're coming on my podcast next.
I'm coming on your show next. I will do that.
Thank you, Kyle, for having me. And I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you.
I really appreciate
conversation. Thank you.
And for those of you out there, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I would hope you'd subscribe and you'd come back. Spread the word. And for those of you who are regular to the channel, thank you for your support. It's because of you that we do what we do. So until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.